Welcome back, students. We are on lesson 1-5. We're going to do video 2, and in this video, we're going to work on some slightly more complicated multi-step equations. That doesn't mean they're more difficult. It just means that they're going to bring in that third step. Remember in the last video, I showed you 4 steps to solving multi-step equations, and this third one says get variables on both sides, and that didn't come into play in the problems we did in the last video. It will this time. So we're going to start exactly the same way. We're going to distribute. First, let's fix this. This says second step. We meant third step. So we're going to start by distributing. When I look at this example number 3, I see some parentheses. I've got a -10 out front. So that means I definitely need to distribute that -10. So -10 times 1 is -10. -10 times n, remember there's an understood 1 there, so I get -10n. On this side of the equal sign, remember I have my wall here. On this side of the equal sign, though, there's no distribution to be done, so I'm going to go ahead and just rewrite this. All right, so distribution is complete. Now I'm going to combine like terms. Remember that when I'm talking about combining like terms here, I'm talking about on each side of the equation. So I want to look on this side of the equation. Are there any like terms? No. Then I want to look at the right-hand side of the equation. Are there any like terms there? No, because this has a variable, this does not. So that means really there's no like terms that can be done. So now I'm ready for step 3. It says get variables on the same side of the equation. That means I've got n's hanging out on both sides. So I'm going to take this 8n and I'm going to move it over here. Now, this is a -8n. How do you think I'm going to move it across that equal sign? Anytime you're crossing the equal sign, no matter what kind of number it is you're trying to move, if you're crossing the equal sign, you've got to use inverse operations. This is a -8n, so if I want to move that, I'm going to add 8n to both sides. All right, when I add that 8n, over here, I've still got this -10. Notice I'm lining it up with its like terms. I'm trying to be smart about this. I'm not going to try to add 8n to this -10. It's not a like term. It's got a matching variable here. Now this one, -10 plus 8, is -2n. Over here, -8n plus 8n, that goes to 0, which means I don't have to worry about it. And then -30 is still there. Now at this point, I can say that the first 3 steps are done. That last step says isolate the variables using inverse operations. You'll notice now that this just looks like a 2-step equation. So I'm going to treat it just like a 2-step equation. I'm going to move the constant, which means this is a -10, so I'm going to add 10 to both sides. -10 plus 10 is 0. That was the whole point of adding 10. That leaves me with just -2n. And over here, -30 plus 10 is -20. All right, now I'm down to a 1 step. This is -2 times n, so how am I going to get rid of multiplication? Division. I'm going to divide by -2 on both sides. -2 divided by -2 is 1, and 1 times n is n. So that's gone. -20 divided by -2 is +10. And I'm finished. Oops. And I'm finished. All right. Now I'm going to go to example 4. We're going to follow those same exact steps. So let's go up here, and you've got your steps on your notes. You don't have to rewrite them unless you just really want to. I'm going to erase my check marks so I can go back through the process. First, I check for distribution. Are there any parentheses here? Any distribution that needs to happen? No. So I don't have to worry about that. Next, I go to combining like terms. Remember, my ultimate goal is to simplify each side of this in turn. So I'm going to distribute and then combine like terms on the left-hand side, and then I'm going to distribute and combine like terms on the right-hand side. Then I start moving things across the equal sign. Don't start trying to get fancy and move things around until you've got each side simplified. I promise it'll make your life easier. So I'm going to look at just the left-hand side to start with. You don't have to start with the left-hand side. I just like to. So -10x plus 6x, those are like terms. So -10 plus 6 is -4. Now that's as simple as it gets. There's nothing else that can be done on this side. So now I'm ready to come over here and look at this one. Well, I've got a couple of different sets of like terms here. I've got two constants, a positive 13 and a negative 9. Those can be combined. I've also got two x terms. I got a plus 2x and I gotta have a negative 7x. So when I combine these like terms, 13 minus 9 is positive 4. Positive 2 and negative 7 is going to be negative 5x. So I'm going to write minus 5x there. Now that's simplified. There's no distribution. There's no like terms. So I can say like terms are finished. I can move my little box out of the way. And now I'm ready to move on to step 3. Step 3 says that I have to get variables on same side of the equation. I've got a negative 4x here. I've got a negative 5x here. So I'm going to move this. It doesn't really matter which side you choose to move. I'm moving this one because it'll get it away from this constant. I'll have all my x's on one side, all my constants on the other, and I might be finished. You could move the 4x. Know that if you move that 4x, you're going to be left with a 0. So that makes things a little bit more confusing than they have to be. So I'm going to add 5x to both sides, because anything I do to one side of the equation, I do to the other. Negative 4 plus 5 is 1. 1 times x is x, so I can just write x. If you like to write the 1 there, that's fine. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0, which is why we did that, so we're left with just the 4. And I'm finished. X equals 4. Notice that had I gone the other way, let's go back up to this point right here. If I had decided to add that 4x, negative 4x plus 4x is 0. And then over here, I have negative 5 plus 4, which is negative x. So then I still have a couple of steps to do. I would still have to add this x or subtract the 4. There's still more to do instead of being finished. So that kind of comes with practice. You learn some little tricks and tips that'll make the process a little quicker for you. All right, but either way, my answer is x equals 4, and I'm finished. All right, you guys go ahead and attempt these problems, and I'll see you on the other side.